In a quiet Austin neighborhood, a discovery so disturbing shook an entire community. A malnourished girl found locked in a closet. Her mother arrested. And now, another terrifying question. Where is Ava Marie Gonzales? This is not just a story of child abuse. It's a story of a missing child, a mother's lies, and a desperate search for justice. It started with a noise, faint, repetitive. A neighbor said it sounded like knocking, too soft to be an accident, too steady to ignore. They called it in. Officers arrived expecting perhaps a domestic dispute, a routine welfare check. But what they found was anything but routine. Inside a home with closed blinds and a television still playing in the background, officers discovered a closet sealed with a bungee cord. No ventilation, no food, no light. Inside, crouched against the back wall, was a young girl, barefoot, underweight, her skin pale, her eyes dull. She said nothing. She didn't need to. The woman, who claimed to be her mother, stood just steps away, offering confused answers. She said the child was homeschooled, that she liked to be alone, that she was fine. She wasn't. EMS workers would later estimate the girl hadn't eaten in days. Her weight was far below what it should have been. Her body bore signs of more than just hunger. There were marks, old ones, faded bruises, a child with no voice locked away, hidden from the world. And then, a second question emerged. Because this girl, the one found behind that door, wasn't listed as an only child. There was another name in the school's database, another child last seen nearly 2 years ago, Ava Marie Gonzales. Her enrollment abruptly ended. No records of a transfer, no forwarding address, just a blank space where answers should be. When questioned, the mother said Ava was with relatives, in another city. Safe. But there were no calls, no recent photos, no documentation. The family she named couldn't confirm anything. Investigators began to suspect there was more at stake than neglect. They found inconsistencies, timelines that didn't match, addresses that didn't exist, and people who had once been close to the family, but hadn't seen Ava in years. Now, with one child rescued and another unaccounted for, the question remains: what really happened in that house? Where is Ava Marie Gonzales? April 3rd, 2025, a gray afternoon in Austin, Texas. The call came in just after 2:30 p.m. A concerned neighbor reported unusual noises, soft banging, almost like tapping, coming from inside the home next door. No one had seen the children for days. The blinds were drawn. The mailbox was overflowing. Officers from the Austin Police Department were dispatched to the residence on Lariat Lane for a routine welfare check. What they expected was a quick knock, a simple check-in, a formality. What they walked into would later be described as one of the most haunting scenes of their careers. When the officers entered the home, it was quiet. No yelling, no struggle, just an overwhelming stillness. The air was stale. There were children's toys in the hallway, a television playing in the background. Nothing appeared out of place until they reached the back bedroom. A closet door, secured with a bungee cord. No ventilation, no light slipping through the cracks. One officer leaned in and listened. Then, movement, a rustle, a sound, almost like breathing. They opened it. Inside, huddled against the wall, was a girl, 7 years old. She weighed just 29 pounds. That's the average weight of a toddler, not a child her age. Her clothes hung off her body. Her eyes barely met theirs. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She simply looked at them. In a later statement, one officer said, "I've never seen a child look like that and still be alive." She was rushed to the hospital. Doctors confirmed she was in a state of extreme malnutrition. Her muscles had deteriorated. There were signs of prolonged abuse. Old scars, bruises in different stages of healing, calloused skin where she had likely been kneeling for extended periods of time. The mother, Lillian Gonzales, offered no clear explanation. She said the girl liked to be alone, that she misbehaved, that locking her away was for discipline. But investigators weren't convinced. They charged Lillian on the spot with felony child endangerment, and the Department of Family and Protective Services opened an emergency investigation. Body cam footage, later blurred and heavily redacted, shows the narrow hallway, the cluttered bedroom, and the small dark space where the girl had been kept. The community was horrified. Local news picked up the story by that evening. Parents across the city watched with disbelief as the headlines appeared. Child found locked in closet. Austin mother arrested for abuse. But for detectives, one detail stood out immediately. The child they found wasn't the only one listed in school records. There was another name, another file, a sister. Ava Marie Gonzales, 5 years old at the time of her last known school enrollment. But she hadn't been seen or documented since 2023. There was no withdrawal paperwork, no homeschool filing, no indication she had ever left the home. As police began to dig deeper, they uncovered more inconsistencies. Lillian had recently changed her phone number. The family's previous addresses had spotty rental histories. Neighbors at the last apartment hadn't seen any children at all. And extended family hadn't heard from Lillian or the girls in over a year. The immediate concern shifted from the girl they had just rescued to the one no one could find. The woman behind the door that day was 34-year-old Virginia Lillian Gonzales, known to most as just Lillian. To neighbors, she was quiet, kept to herself, rarely seen outside, rarely seen with children. And yet, records would soon show that 7 children had lived under her roof. 7. Only one was found during the initial welfare check. The others, nowhere in sight. Over the next 48 hours, the Austin Police Department began to piece together the complicated web of Lillian's family history. Birth certificates, custody documents, former school records. Most of it fragmented, incomplete. Several of the children had different fathers. Some had lived with relatives. Some had dropped out of school systems entirely. There were no consistent addresses, no regular medical care, no paper trail. One officer would later say, "It was like chasing shadows. Every time we thought we had found a lead, it vanished." When investigators obtained a warrant to search the house thoroughly, the scene inside told its own story. Mattresses stained and torn, cabinets nearly empty, no toys, no books, no signs of recent meals, locks on the outside of bedroom doors, a baby gate mounted upside down in a hallway, surveillance cameras not pointed outward but inward toward the bedrooms. In the refrigerator, condiments, a half-empty jug of milk, and little else. In the trash, fast food wrappers, receipts, plastic bottles. In the bedrooms, clothing piled in corners, more than one without blankets or sheets. There were no family photos, no drawings taped to the fridge, no birthday cards, no names scribbled on the walls. It was a house that didn't look lived in, at least not by children. What emerged over the following days was a picture of a household in chaos, held together by secrecy and isolation. Neighbors described the home as strangely quiet. One said they had occasionally seen children peering through the blinds, but never outside playing. Another recalled hearing crying late at night, but dismissed it at the time. No one had called authorities before. The school district confirmed that one of Lillian's daughters had last been enrolled nearly 2 years prior. Ava Marie Gonzales. The records indicated perfect attendance up until the final month. Then, nothing. No withdrawal request. No follow-up. Lillian told school officials at the time that she planned to homeschool, but there was no registration with the state. No lesson plans, no sign of instruction materials found inside the home. The others? Their names showed up sporadically across various schools in Travis and Williamson counties, often for short periods. Some had been flagged for excessive absences. There were notations in files. Unable to reach parent. Home visit attempted. Phone number disconnected. The system had tried, but it hadn't pushed hard enough. Behind closed doors, something was happening. Something no one fully saw, or perhaps didn't want to. Former acquaintances from a previous address described Lillian as paranoid and controlling. One neighbor, who requested anonymity, said she rarely allowed her children to interact with others. Another recalled seeing Lillian load a child into her car in the early hours of the morning. No car seat, no shoes, no explanation. There were no prior CPS cases open in Austin at the time of the welfare check, but investigators found references to past complaints in another county. A tip from 2019, possible neglect, poor hygiene, children unsupervised. No charges were filed. The case had been closed. Now, with one child hospitalized and a second still missing, those early warnings looked like flashing signs no one followed. It was clear to investigators that Lillian Gonzales had constructed a life of invisibility, shifting addresses, severing ties, removing her children from systems designed to protect them. And at the center of it all was Ava Marie. The girl no one had seen in nearly 2 years, no recent photos, no medical visits, no school, no digital footprint. How does a child disappear so completely? And for so long? Her name was Ava Marie Gonzales, last officially seen in late 2017. She was 2 years old. No missing persons report, no Amber Alert, no police file. According to the system, she simply stopped existing. But Ava didn't vanish in a crowd. She didn't run away. She wasn't abducted from a public place. She was 2. Her world consisted of bottles, blankets, bedtime stories, and the people who were supposed to protect her. So, where did she go? Investigators began combing through every available document. Medical records, daycare enrollment, pediatrician visits. The last official file listed Ava's name on a Medicaid application from October 2017. After that, nothing. Her mother, Virginia Lillian Gonzales, claimed Ava was living with her biological father in El Paso. When asked for his name, she hesitated. When pressed for a phone number or address, she changed the subject. Eventually, she provided a name. Officers tracked it down, a man with a history of non-payment of child support. But he hadn't seen Ava since she was a baby. He said Lillian had moved away without warning and cut off all contact. She gave another version of the story to hospital staff, that Ava had been adopted privately. No agency listed, no court documents filed, no record of any transfer of custody. Just her word. The stories were inconsistent, contradictory, and none of them could be proven. What puzzled detectives most was the timeline. Ava's supposed disappearance occurred nearly 8 years ago, but no one reported her missing. Not a single call, not a concerned grandparent, not a school administrator, not a neighbor. The years between 2017 and 2025 revealed nothing. No trail, no photos, no documented sightings. Ava had been removed from the world so quietly, so completely, that no one even noticed she was gone. An age-progressed photo was released in April 2025. It showed what Ava might look like now. A 9-year-old girl with soft features, dark brown eyes, and a slightly tilted smile. The image aired on local news, was shared across state lines, and distributed to federal missing child databases. Tips began to trickle in. A girl matching Ava's description was seen in a grocery store in Lubbock. Another in a shelter in New Mexico. All leads, dead ends. Police now face 3 chilling possibilities. 1, Ava is alive, living somewhere under a different name, hidden, coached, kept quiet. 2, she was given away. Unofficially, illegally, to someone who has no intention of coming forward. Or 3, Ava has been gone far longer than anyone wants to admit. The house where she was last known to live held no clues, no belongings marked with her name, no photos, no clothes that could be traced back to her. Just an old crib in the garage, dusty, unassembled, pushed against a wall. When questioned again, Lillian refused to say more. Her attorney advised her to remain silent. She has not cooperated with the search. Authorities have not yet filed charges related to Ava's disappearance, not because they don't believe something happened, but because, as of now, they have no proof of what that something is. They are asking the public for help. Anyone who knew Lillian Gonzales between 2017 and 2023. Anyone who may have seen Ava at a playground, at a doctor's office, in a daycare center, or traveling between counties. Every day that passes makes answers harder to find, but law enforcement believes that someone, somewhere, knows the truth. Is Ava out there, waiting to be found? Or was she lost long before anyone began asking questions? April 24th, 2025. 21 days after the discovery that set everything in motion. Authorities formally arrested Virginia Lillian Gonzales on multiple charges: injury to a child neglect, and obstruction of an investigation. The arrest took place without incident. Gonzales was taken from a temporary shelter where she had been staying during the investigation. She remained quiet, offered no resistance, and spoke only to request a lawyer. The indictment detailed a disturbing pattern. It alleged that Gonzales knowingly withheld food, medical care, and basic safety from her daughter, the 7-year-old found locked in the closet. It also accused her of providing false and misleading information to officers during the search for Ava Marie. Austin Police Chief Carla Reyes issued a statement that same afternoon. This is not just about a failure of parenting. This is a deliberate, sustained pattern of harm. We are still investigating all possible leads involving the whereabouts of Ava Marie Gonzales. This case remains active, and we are not ruling anything out. Outside the Travis County Courthouse, crowds gathered. Some carried signs. Others stood in silence. The story had gripped the city, and now people wanted answers. Inside, cameras were not allowed in the courtroom, but a local artist captured the first appearance in sketch. Gonzales sat in an orange jumpsuit, her wrists cuffed, her hair unkempt. She did not look at the judge. She did not look at the crowd. She kept her eyes low. Bail was denied. The prosecution cited flight risk, lack of cooperation, and the potential risk to other children still being located. The judge agreed. In the days that followed, Child Protective Services confirmed that 5 other children connected to Gonzales had been placed into state custody. None could say where Ava was. Across Austin, residents questioned how this could have gone unnoticed for so long. How a mother with 7 children moving quietly through neighborhoods and school districts could disappear into the cracks of a system meant to safeguard the vulnerable. But the case wasn't over, because Ava Marie was still missing, and no one, not even her mother, was willing to explain where she went. As of May 2025, Virginia Lillian Gonzales remains in custody at the Travis County Jail, held without bond. But her story, and the search for Ava Marie Gonzales, is far from over. The charges she currently faces, injury to a child, neglect, and obstruction, only the beginning. Prosecutors have made it clear. If evidence emerges that Ava is deceased, trafficked, or unlawfully relocated, more serious charges, including homicide or human trafficking, could follow. The case has now expanded beyond Austin. Federal investigators with the FBI's Crimes Against Children unit have joined local law enforcement, combing through past addresses, interviewing former acquaintances, and requesting surveillance archives from cities across Texas and New Mexico. Meanwhile, the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services has taken emergency custody of 5 surviving children found in connection with Gonzales. The state has not released their names, ages, or the conditions under which they were discovered, only confirming that they are now safe and receiving trauma-focused care. A spokesperson for DFPS released a short statement. The agency is working closely with law enforcement and child psychologists to ensure the well-being of the children removed from the Gonzales residence. Due to the ongoing criminal investigation and privacy protections, no additional details will be provided at this time. According to internal sources, at least one of the children has begun to speak with investigators, describing years of isolation, threats, and fear inside the home. But even these accounts remain limited. Many of the children had minimal contact with the outside world and may not fully comprehend what happened to their sister. District Attorney Elena Cruz has confirmed her office is treating Ava's disappearance as an open and active criminal investigation. She declined to say whether Gonzales is cooperating. Public interest in the case has only grown. Advocacy groups have called for stronger oversight in child welfare systems, especially in cases where parents remove children from school or change residences without notice. But at the heart of this case is still one question, and it's the one no one can yet answer. Where is Ava Marie Gonzales? And if she is no longer alive, will anyone be held accountable? The story of Ava Marie Gonzales is not the first of its kind. In 2018, the Turpin family case stunned the nation. 13 siblings held captive by their own parents in a California home. Malnourished, chained to beds, denied education, and hidden from nearly every outside institution. For years, no one knew. Before that, in 2014, 4 children were found living in filth and confinement in a Houston apartment. Neighbors said they never heard a sound. And in each of these stories, including Ava's, one theme repeats: a child disappears, not into a crowd, but into the shadows of their own home. Experts call it invisible abuse. No bruises seen at school, no police reports filed, no outside witnesses. And when families isolate themselves, when they move frequently, avoid doctors, homeschool without oversight, they slip through every net meant to catch them. Statistically, the numbers are sobering. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, over 350,000 cases of missing children are reported in the United States every year. The majority are resolved quickly: runaways, custody disputes, or miscommunications. But a smaller, far more troubling fraction simply vanish. Children who are never enrolled in school. Children removed from the public record. Children like Ava Marie Gonzales. A 2023 Department of Health and Human Services report found that more than 1,700 children die each year in the U.S. due to abuse and neglect, many in homes with no prior CPS involvement, or with cases previously closed. So why aren't the warning signs caught? Former social workers say staffing shortages, overwhelming caseloads, and legal limitations all play a role. In some states, parents can withdraw children from public school with no requirement to report their new education plan. In others, child welfare visits can be delayed for weeks due to backlog, or stopped entirely if a family moves across county lines. In these gaps, children disappear. Virginia Gonzales knew how to avoid the system. Whether by design or by desperation, she removed herself and her children from nearly every point of contact with the outside world. And for nearly 8 years it worked, until one child, locked in a closet, was finally discovered. As the case of Ava Marie Gonzales unfolded, the city of Austin and the nation became gripped by a shared sense of urgency and sorrow. Community vigils began to take place within days of the initial discovery. Candlelight memorials, people holding signs reading hashtag Ava Marie, and prayers for a child who had been lost for so long. The names of the missing echoed in every gathering. But with every vigil, the question grew more painful. Where was Ava? Social media exploded with support as individuals from all over the country shared posts with the hashtag Find Ava Marie. It became a rallying cry. Local activists, child advocacy groups, and everyday citizens took to platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, amplifying the message that no child should vanish without a trace. On April 27th, Ava's case was featured in a nationwide broadcast on Crime Watch Daily, reigniting the search for new leads. Investigators asked the public to come forward with any information, no matter how small it seemed. It was a plea for answers. A tip hotline was set up for anonymous calls, and local authorities urged anyone who might have seen Ava or knew anything about her whereabouts to speak up. In every corner of Austin, flyers were posted, some pinned on utility poles, others passed hand to hand in coffee shops and grocery stores. Ava's age-progressed photo was plastered everywhere, a haunting reminder that a little girl was still out there, or perhaps lost forever. It's clear, Ava's story isn't just a tragic one. It's a call to action, a call for justice, a call for accountability, and a call for us all to watch a little closer. As we reach the end of Ava Marie Gonzales' story, we are left with more questions than answers. The search continues, the investigation presses on, but Ava remains missing. Her mother, behind bars, is not speaking. The world waits for the truth. This case reminds us of a harsh reality. Sometimes, the most horrific crimes happen behind the walls we trust the most, our homes. The places we consider sanctuaries, where children should be safe, are sometimes where they face the greatest dangers. The community of Austin and people across the country have learned that lesson the hard way. We've seen it in the faces of the other children now in foster care. They too are victims of the silence that allowed Ava to disappear. No one heard their cries for help. No one noticed their suffering until it was too late for Ava. But it's not too late for all the others who may be living in shadows, unseen by the world around them. This case is a wake-up call, one we cannot ignore. If you see something, if you know something, don't stay silent. Speak out. No child should ever endure what Ava did. In the weeks to come, investigators will continue to follow the trail of leads, piece together the fragments of a life taken far too soon, and work tirelessly to bring justice, not only for Ava, but for every child who suffers in the dark. Next week, we'll revisit another chilling case, one that has haunted investigators for over a decade. A child missing for years, found only recently. But the secrets that led to her disappearance are just as tragic. Like, subscribe, and share this video to help bring awareness to Ava Marie's story. The more eyes we have on this case, the closer we get to finding the truth. Until next time, keep searching, keep questioning, and never turn away.